Chapter 2. The Warning. The arched wooden doors of St. Michael's creaked open, revealing a dimly lit nave. Daniel Thorne stepped inside, his gaze following the flickering shadows cast by candlelight on the stone walls. The air was thick with incense and whispers of prayers, and somewhere in the distance, a choir hummed faintly. He crossed the nave, passing rows of empty pews before finding the small chapel where Maryam Al-Saeed had asked to meet him. Her email had been vague but urgent. "Meet me at St. Michael's. I'll explain everything." Inside the chapel, Maryam stood hunched over a table, surrounded by stacks of ancient scrolls, tattered books, and religious texts. She looked up as Daniel approached, her eyes wild and bloodshot. "Daniel," she called out, her voice echoing off the stone walls. "I'm glad you came." Daniel glanced around, noting the religious symbols adorning the room. Icons of saints, crucifixes, and Islamic calligraphy blended together in a strange fusion of faiths. "You said you had information about Cain," he replied, trying to mask his skepticism. "I'm listening." Maryam took a deep breath and unfurled a scroll on the table, revealing a faded map of the Middle East, overlaid with symbols and markings. "This map," she began, tracing her finger along the parchment, "is one of the few remaining pieces of the Scrolls of Prophecy, a collection of texts foretelling the rise of the Antichrist and the Dajjal. Look here." She pointed to a symbol resembling an eye, inked next to the city of Jerusalem. "It says, 'He shall come forth with but one eye, and his tongue shall weave lies into truth. Many shall follow him into the darkness, for his promises will blind their hearts.'" Daniel leaned closer, studying the ancient writing. The scroll was weathered, the ink barely legible, but the message was unmistakable. "Okay," he said cautiously. "So, what does this have to do with Luther Cain?" Maryam pulled out a well-worn Bible and flipped it open to Revelation 13. "Listen to this. 'And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast.'" Cain is the beast, Daniel. He's the one-eyed deceiver, and people are already worshiping him. She closed the Bible and thrust a photograph toward Daniel. It showed Cain on stage at a political rally, shaking hands with a young girl. "Look at his left eye," Maryam said, pointing at the eye patch. "He hides it, but it's there. One eye blinded. The mark of the Dajjal." Daniel studied the photograph, his skepticism wavering. The parallel between Cain and the prophecies was eerie. "And this," Maryam continued, picking up a sheaf of newspaper clippings, "is evidence of his false miracles. He cured blindness in Guatemala, brought rain to a drought-stricken village in Kenya, and supposedly turned seawater into drinking water in Yemen. But it's all deception, Daniel. He's manipulating people, preparing them to receive the mark." "The mark?" Daniel asked. Maryam opened a final folder, revealing detailed schematics of a digital identity system Cain's movement was developing. At the top of the document was the emblem of a single piercing eye. "The mark of Cain," Maryam explained. "He wants to control the world through this system, marking people with digital identities linked to his global network. No one will buy or sell without it." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. The similarities to Revelation 13 were unmistakable. "He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads," Maryam recited from memory, "and that no one may buy or sell, except one who has the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." "And you think Cain is the beast?" Daniel asked, still skeptical. "I don't think," Maryam replied firmly. "I know. The scrolls of prophecy and the Bible both point to him, and the Hadiths too." She pulled out another scroll, this one in Arabic script, and carefully translated. "He will claim divinity and cause widespread chaos, but on his forehead will be written, Kafir." "Kafir," Daniel repeated. "Infidel." "Yes," Maryam confirmed. "But people won't see it. They'll follow him blindly, deceived by his promises." Daniel stepped back, trying to process the information. He didn't believe in prophecies, but he couldn't deny the uncanny parallels. "So what do you want me to do?" he asked finally. Maryam placed a hand on his shoulder. "I want you to uncover the truth," she said. "Investigate Cain's rise to power. Find the connections, expose the lies, and warn the world before it's too late." Daniel hesitated, torn between skepticism and the journalist's instinct for a good story. "All right," he said finally, "but I need more proof, real evidence that Cain is behind this." Maryam nodded, and handed him a small envelope. "This will lead you to a defector from Cain's inner circle," she said. "He knows the truth." Daniel pocketed the envelope just as a knock echoed through the chapel, startling them both. Maryam glanced nervously toward the door. "We're not safe here," she whispered urgently. "Meet me tomorrow at the old synagogue in Brooklyn. I'll bring more scrolls." Before Daniel could respond, she was gone, slipping out the side entrance like a shadow. As Daniel left the church, he glanced back at the flickering lights of the chapel. His phone buzzed with a new notification, and he looked down to see another news alert about Cain's latest rally. The city was falling under his spell. "This is just the beginning," Daniel muttered to himself, clutching the envelope tightly. "Change is coming."